Hey guys, it's the middle of the night, I can't sleep, and I want to share with you one of the thoughts that's keeping me up tonight. And yeah, no, it's a bit of a mess. I know my hair is a bit of a mess because I've tried to sleep for hours. But anyway, so I've been denied a lot. I've been denied the whole fortune, probably 40 million by now. Although that's not in dollars, that's in Norwegian currency, NOK. And originally, when I went to court, I had no number on paper. I had a number up here. I knew it was roughly 35 million. But you know, now a few years have passed, so the value is at least 40 million by now. And I can tell my throat's a bit dry. So anyway, how is this possible? Like, you didn't report someone when you were 3 years old, and that cost you 40 million. How is this even possible? How can Norway do this? Well, I'm just gonna tell you 3 of the things that led up to it, and then we'll finish off with the answer, right? So, number 1, I got Bechdrev's disease at the age of 8. Record young age, and it was diagnosed when I was 18. And that's because I asked my doctor specifically, thanks to my good eye doctor, to take a blood test for this, to test me, do I have this gene, do I have this illness? And that's amateurish, like 2 doctors knowing that something's wrong for 10 years, they should have found this out, they should have had the brains to do a blood test, but they didn't. That's 10 years of medical malpractice for one illness. And then, of course, because of the Bechdrev's disease, I got iridocyclitis, also known as rainbow hen inflammation. And you're supposed to be on antibiotics normally for, you know, an infection for like a month maximum. And they didn't put me on antibiotics for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, no, 6.5 years on antibiotics for iridocyclitis. Yeah, 6.5 years on antibiotics. You know, antibacteria medication to treat white blood cells. So, we're up to 16.5 years so far. But it gets better, because I had a proper eye doctor for all of 1 year. Then she quit, and she told me I needed to go to my doctor's office and get her to send me to a new eye doctor. Because here in Norway, you're not allowed to go to an eye doctor without your doctor's permission. You need your doctor to give you permission, and that's just... It's a massive brain fart. So I go to my eye doctor, and that's where the third problem is. She denies me access to eye doctors. Yep. So I spend over 1,000 euros on private eye doctors trying not to go blind, and all of them say the same. Go to your doctor, get her to send you to an eye doctor, and also use these steroids 5 times a day, because otherwise you'll go blind. Then I spent over 1,000 euros at my doctor's office. Keep in mind, I should get doctor's appointments for free. You know how much a single doctor appointment cost me? Like the most expensive one? 410 euros. Yeah, if my maths are right, it's 410, and I can actually math that out. Because it's that number multiplied by that. 4,900 actually, sorry. It's 490 euros. 490 euros was my most expensive doctor's appointment. Basically 500 euros. Christ. So it's no wonder I spent 2,000 euros on my eye condition over those 2 years. That's a drop in the bucket. So that means all in all 18.5 years of medical malpractice on 2 illnesses. Yeah. You know why that cycle broke? Why she suddenly sent me to an eye doctor? It's because an over-doctor, the way highest up-ranked doctor title, one of those doctors was awesome and told her to get her finger out her ass and do her job or shit was going down. Had it not been for that real doctor, my doctor would have continued and I would have lost my eye. And nothing would have been done about that. So thank the over-doctor for her power and the fact that she is a doctor because she wants to help people. She's not a doctor out of greed, and that means a lot. And that over-doctor, she sent me to an eye doctor on the day, like, you have an appointment in 45 minutes. Go. It's like, wow. But of course the nurses over there and the eye doctor over there, they didn't agree. I mean, I overheard them when I came there, like, who do they think they are that they can just order an appointment in an hour? And then the eye doctor tried to guilt trip me, like, I hope you appreciate this, like I'm staying here an hour after work without getting paid in order to help you. It's like, why does he have such a shady attitude? It's not like I chose to have a bad doctor. A bad one was assigned to me. Two, in fact. So, I feel like that eye doctor that I met there that one day, he wasn't an eye doctor to help people. He was an eye doctor to make money. That's what I feel, because why are you guilt-tripping a patient that acutely needs help? That makes no sense. But yeah, how many years of medical malpractice do you think I have? Because it's 18 and a half on 2 illnesses. How bad do you think it is? Twice that? 36 years? You're well off, because it's closer to 60. It was about 50 when I had the court case. I started counting when it was actually 45 years of medical malpractice. And 1 or 2 years later, that's when my court date was, and 2 different judges told me that you get no compensation for any of the shit that the government's done to you because you didn't report them within 3 years. Yeah. 2 different judges said that. And because some things were older and some things were more recent, the only way that that can be interpreted correctly, so it applies to everything, means you didn't report your doctor when you were 3 years old, therefore you can't get compensation for stuff your doctor does to you in your 20s, even if it's a different doctor. Because if it's anything else, if it's within 3 years of something starting, well, then they have committed some... It's not violence, what's it called? There's a V word. Something wrong anyway. And if it's within 3 years of something ending, then again it's wrong because some things ended before the court case and some stuff was ongoing during the court case. And they denied me compensation for that as well. Yeah. So, 50 years or more of medical malpractice, that's something I have. I was left defenseless, for one, for several years because of that illness, Becker's disease. I'm missing my jaw discs because teachers didn't give a shit about the bullies that bullied me and tormented me physically when I was crippled because of that illness. So they punched me so hard that discs came out of their sockets, which is extremely terrible. Not to mention I was also choked because of the government to the point that my throat shattered, so I never actually went through a voice change. And whatever voice I have now is... I don't know, is it the one I'm supposed to have? No idea. And my throat frequently collapses in on itself because of that injury, so I can't breathe. Luckily that only happens when I lie down. But yeah, that's scary shit already, and I think there's more stuff the government did, but it doesn't matter. Ultimately, the government employed the terrible doctors that did 50 years of medical malpractice. They employed the terrible doctors that made me get 15 medical conditions in total, and it's because of these doctors that I had 10 medical conditions at the worst time in my life. They employed the teachers that bullied me, spat in my food, and didn't do shit about the bullies. And the bullies would of course be the teacher's responsibility, and the teachers would of course be the government's responsibility. So therefore, both doctors and teachers so far are the government's responsibility. And of course, the stupid fucking classmates I had. Like the ones I had during elementary, they were fine. They were classic elementary school bullies. They were fine. First year in middle school, That was fine. I mean, they were annoying, they were worse bullies. But during 9th and 10th grade, that's when it was hateful. That's when people had malicious intent. And they didn't care if they damaged me for the rest of my life. And the fact that problems in these 3 zones I reported and nothing was done with is terrible. In fact, I reported my doctor to the guys that are supposed to be the last line of defense against terrible doctors, and they said that my case was so ridiculous they weren't even going to look into it. Like, how? How can someone whose specific job it is to stop bad doctors just say, now we're going to dismiss your case, not even look into your doctor? Just, what? Like, they said they didn't believe that my doctor had put me on antibiotics for 6.5 years, then denied me an eye doctor for 2 years. They were just like, nope, dismissed. I'm just mind blown that they don't have proper security checks in place. Like, a medication you're supposed to use for 2 weeks, there's no check done if it's been done for a month, 2 months, 3 months. So a doctor can just prescribe a medication for 6 years that you're not supposed to be on for that long, and nothing happens. And if you ask for compensation, you just say, I want compensation. You don't say an amount, you just say, I'm up for negotiation. They say, nah, because you didn't report your doctor to the police within 3 years of meeting them when you were 3 years old. Barely knew how to speak. Hadn't even entered school yet. Hadn't been educated. Hadn't been taught your rights or your laws or your duties. Yeah, to me that's not very reasonable, saying that I am denied all motions for compensation because I didn't report someone when I was 3 years old to the police. The thing is, they can make an exception to this rule, but they said that, oh yeah, you who think you've been through 15 medical conditions, think you've had 10 at the same time, yeah, you have been completely sane your whole life, you've never at any point been not sane, and especially in the last 3 years, yeah, you've been completely okay, even though you had 15,000 euros stolen from you, ended up in debt, starved for 4 months, gained permanent damage to your body, and became obese because of the starvation, and you also lost all the muscles you worked so hard to obtain after several years. Yeah, you are completely fine in your head. Even you who just had suicidal thoughts just a few months prior because of a bus mistake. Yeah, you are completely sane, mentally clear, you have had... or rather, we have no reason to make an exception for you. Yeah. So it's kind of 2 different reasons why I didn't get the money, I guess. One, because I didn't report someone to the police when I was 3 years old, including people that I had never met at that point in time, and also because the judges said that they didn't want to do an exception. So yeah, I'm still kind of salty about that, and I'll be salty for the rest of my life. Because even though the government is giving me disability welfare, that welfare only lasts 40 years, and I would need to be alive for 120 years at the salary I get to get just compensation. And yeah, getting a third of my just compensation paid out over 40 years. That's not good enough. That's a third of the compensation happening over the course of 40 years instead of happening instantly. So I have no idea, no way, to invest the money and actually have it last long term. And that sucks, that's unfair. Of course there will be people who say you don't deserve compensation, you should get it, but I think you deserve something. If you say I deserve 0 compensation, then you say if I go and key your car, then you can't demand anything from me, and I think that's wrong. When I was a dumb kid, I threw a stone into the air and it landed on a car. I had to pay for that. Or rather, my parents had to. And they sure made me pay for it, yeah. And I think that was right. I think that made sense. When you hurt somebody, you gotta make it up to them. And when you hurt somebody's property, you gotta make it up to them financially. Gotta pay them back. So I just think it makes sense if the government sends me a proper apology for ruining my life, ruining a third of my childhood, ruining all my teenage years, ruining the first 4 years of my adulthood. Yeah, I mean, my life was shit until I turned 22, perhaps 22 and a half, and it went downhill from the age of 8. So yeah, I'm holding the government accountable for most of the crap happening between 8 and 22 and a half. Although the university in Winchester has, a blame for like 20% of what went wrong. But I didn't account them in my claim to compensation. Nah. But yeah, that's it. I've ranted on this video. I feel lighter. I've unburdened myself, and maybe I can now go to sleep. But yeah, one of my dreams is to just get just compensation, or to just have money come, I don't know where, maybe from a donation, I don't know. It's just that my brain is maxed out in logical thinking, and so it sees the world the way it's supposed to be, the way things are supposed to work, and since the laws are written in certain ways and regulations are written in certain ways, I'm entitled to get some form of compensation, I'm entitled to justice, yet I haven't seen justice, and I never will. And so my brain is constantly feeling like this ain't right, this isn't the world you were told you were living in. And I really don't like that, and the same thing happens when I'm lied to about a video game, like I see features in it not being the same with what's written on the box. That upsets me. So I'm now upset about life itself. I'm upset at my finances and so much more. Because what I was told on paper isn't what's in reality. But yeah, life goes on anyway, and I've recovered. I've recovered from suicidal thoughts, anxiety, depression, even PTSD. Ooh. That was a rough one, but I've overcome the worst. I'm down to 7 medical conditions nowadays, and I like ending my videos on a bit of a positive note, Like, I've gotten very good control on these conditions, and I now understand life a lot better, and I do volunteer work to help other people get through their stuff, and I don't often talk about my stuff, but sometimes I do, and people say it helps, and people say it's motivational, and that's nice to hear. So yeah, even though I'm disabled and I get sick if I work a lot, I get sick if I work out, I don't give up. I'm a tough nut. So I'm working out, and I'm doing volunteer work. And it's wearing a little bit, but I've managed to find at least a level that I can sort of maintain. And so I hope stuff gets better, and yeah, that's about it. So I wish you happy health, I wish you a happy year, I hope you're doing well, and good luck with your dream or your goal, whatever you're working on. Keep at it, keep trying, keep failing and getting back up and learning. That's all I can say. So thanks for watching, see you next time.